Your colors show when the feeling starts to grow. There's aching we both know. I feel them sinking in me. Your teeth against my neck. We're coming for the truth that we never can forget.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I got working that transition a little bit better. Hi, I'm Jason. I'm the music data manager at Chartmetric. Will be your host for today. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. We totally appreciate it. This is our second live stream for Off the Charts. We're super excited to be here with you today. We got a bunch of folks from the team here to talk to you. One is Timur. He's our product manager. He's going to talk a little bit about a new feature that we just rolled out. After that, we're gonna have Rucker talk, who is one of our podcast hosts for How Music Charts. Talk with Sasha Stoikov, who is a professor here in New York, to talk about a guest post that he recently did on the blog. And then Michelle will come on and talk a little bit about the product and walk through some app features for those who are maybe new to Chartmetric. In case you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat for any one of us. Rucker will ask specifically questions for Sasha in case you have questions about the article he wrote. But we're here today for you. So please feel free to speak freely and comment freely in the chat. We're going to write down some of your questions from the various platforms you're on. Maybe you're on LinkedIn, maybe you're on YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. We'll do our best to get to all of them as best as we can. But we're here for the next about 55 minutes. If you can spare time, that'd be great. If you need to pop in and pop out, please feel free to do so. But first, I'm going to toss it over to some folks we have over in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest. Who do we have here today? We have Sung and Andreas. How are you, gentlemen?
Hey. Hey, Jason.
Hey, we got Mike there too. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, we are here in Austin. We are so happy to be back here in person. So, yeah, the vibe is nice.
Awesome. So So for those not familiar, Sung is our founder and CEO. Andreas is our president for marketing, strategy, and operations, and Mike is our director of artist relations and employee relations. So, gentlemen, how are the tacos over there in Austin, Texas?
Oh, there's too much hot sauce here.
Beach taco, that was amazing.
When did you gentlemen get in? Was it yesterday?
Yes, we did.
Okay. What was the Mike? What was the vibe like? What's the vibe like there in Austin right now?
It's great. It feels like good times. There's been a lot of music, a lot of showcases, events. People are happy to be here, and it just feels really nice to be back here in person after the last few years. So extremely grateful to be here, and with the team as well. I mean, it's it's a positive sign, I feel.
That's great. Sung, has there been any cool meetings you have lined up? People you're excited to meet, or people you've already met there in Austin?
Yeah, we are connecting with the people that we've been talking only on Zoom. So that is really a benefit here. And also, we are doing some mentor sessions, and we are meeting Chartmetric customers as well. So if any one of you happen to be in Austin as well, so please, the camera is moving, but yeah, please feel free to connect with us.
Yes, most definitely. Andreas, any panels or cool talks that you see happening over there in Austin that you're looking forward to?
Problem is there's too many of them. There's so many overlaps as well. So today we decided we're going to have to divide and conquer because there's just too many conflicts. But it's overwhelming. And again, doing this in person, the energy, the vibe, seeing people that we haven't seen in years, it's just fascinating and amazing. So yeah, it's super exciting to be here.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Is there anything else that any of you gentlemen want to mention before you go off and eat some barbecue?
All good. Thanks for connecting us. Have an amazing session, and we have a lot of updates afterwards once we see you in person.
Cool. Sounds good. And again, folks, if you know Chaz Jenkins, he's our Chief of Commercial Officer there too. He's down there in Austin as well. So if you want to say hi to any of them, they're there for, I think, the next day or two. Please feel free to reach out to us over email at hi@chartmetric.com, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe arrange a meeting if you or one of your colleagues are over there. All right, gentlemen, take care.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. Cool. Awesome. So moving on to our next segment. So I'm going to bring on Timur. Timur is our product manager here at Chartmetric. He's going to talk a little bit about Artist Plan. Artist Plan is something that you should have seen an email about if you're in our email newsletter. If not, feel free to email us at hi@chartmetric.com to get yourself on it. But it's something we've just recently rolled out. We're super excited about it. And without any further ado, I will add Timur. Timur, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Jason. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You are tuning in from, is it Los Angeles today?
Los Angeles, yeah.
Fantastic. I'm just gonna let you go ahead and share your screen or say whatever you want to say, and I'll take myself off the screen here, okay?
Sure, sounds good. Yeah, I'm gonna
All right,
share my screen right now. Okay, cool. Yeah, so as Jason mentioned, I'm going to be going over our new subscription level, which we call the Artist Plan. And essentially, the goal of the Artist Plan was to make the power of Chartmetric available to the average musician or independent label. And I really think that we hit a really solid note with this. So just at the top of the call, some key features that are incorporated into the Artist Plan are things like you can subscribe to up to 3 artists to view their entire data. You're also able to follow other artists to look at their basic data as an overview. We've opened up a lot of the playlist and the curator access to 28 days of history, and then access to cool features like the playlist journeys, which we'll go over a little bit. And then finally, we have incorporated the Chartmetric mobile phone application. So that's something that you gain access to. And then there's also a cool feature that allows you to build teams within the Artist Plan as well. So without any further ado, let's jump in. So starting off here, we're logged into the free plan. So just wanted to kind of show, how you would go about signing up for the Artist Plan and upgrading here. So you can see, you can still, in the free plan, follow a variety of different artists, but with limited data. So if you wanted to upgrade at any given time, you would go to Upgrade Plan in the top right-hand corner here. It looks like, let's see, let me make sure that I'm in the right one here. Descriptions. Okay, for some reason, this looks like it might be in the wrong one. So let me try one of the, got it. So I was already in the artist plan. So I'll do a freemium one right here. Right, okay, so if I want to log into here, then go to upgrade plan. Now you can see the premium plan and the artist plan, right? So clicking over to the artist plan, we have the ability to choose up to 3 artists to follow their specific data, right? So you'd search, let's just say Blackpink, and we're starting out at a introductory rate here of $10 per month or $100 per year, and then $5 for any additional artists that you wanted to sign into. So let's have it this time, right? And then so $15 a month. If I wanted to add another additional one on, I could do that. So then I would check out, and then we could jump into the artist plan right here. And so I have this open for convenience. And so just like our other Chartmetric applications, you know, we have the dashboard here. We can take a look. If I scroll all the way to the right, in this instance, you'll see here an S or an X. S means it's a subscribed artist. So essentially, you're locked in here. You're able to see all of their data across the board, whereas X is just a followed artist. So this is sort of like the free version. You can just kind of continue to look at their high-level data without drilling into the actual important statistics here, right? And so let's say I wanted to then take a look at my subscribed artists. So you click in, and you know, we have the basic artist overview page with all of our data. You'll notice too that things, oh, this should be, that's a bug right there. We'll get that fixed. But yeah, essentially you will have access to TikTok information. You'll have access to, that also looks like a bug. Apologies for that. Let me just make sure this one is the right one. It might have switched it up. Yep, that was the freemium. Okay, so got it. All right, let's try this now. So, all right, perfect. So you can see that we're subscribed to Blackpink. And then if we jumped into TikTok information, now in the artist plan, you can see we have full access to the TikTok versus the free, where we were essentially had that paywall there. We also have airplay information. So 2 very important metrics and platforms for the artists themselves. And yeah, you can dive into charts, television, etc. for the subscribed artists. So again, you get that for up to 3 subscribed artists. So really, if you're an artist, it could be yourself and a couple of, let's say, key bands that you're touring with. If you're an independent label, same kind of thing. These could be a couple artists that you're really focusing on managing. So yeah, so that's the individual artists themselves. We can drill down into, let's say, the playlists. So this was a key feature that we had a lot of requests on as we were building the artist plan. So let's say I wanted to dive into any particular playlist. So we have today's top hit from Spotify, and you can see we have all of the information here. So you can take out, check out when the new tracks were added by the day of the week, when they were removed, look at overall popularity, a lot of good information here. But as we jump down into some of these additional features towards the bottom, this is where you can really unlock a lot of the cool aspects of the artist plan. So you have Time Machine here. So not only do you get to look at the current tracks that are on this playlist, but you can zoom back in time and check out some of the previous type of tracks for 28 days prior of historical information. So that's Time Machine. Also wanted to call out Playlist Journey. So this is a very, very awesome feature that I think is going to be really well utilized in the artist plan. And so essentially this is a playlist journey. So let's say I was an artist and I wanted to get on today's top hits. This is a really powerful feature to use. So basically what this is saying is that if you look over here at this overlap, 64% of the songs that are on today's top hits are also shared by this other playlist, Hits Don't Lie. And so the idea here is if one can position themselves on these various playlists, there's a better chance of getting picked up by an additional playlist. In this case, it's today's top hits. And you can kind of see some cool examples of that. So 99 days before today's top hits added A, B, C, D, E, F, U. It was added to Hits Don't Lie. So this kind of shows the progression of it being picked up. And then you can also check out the flip side of that. So this is a look ahead. So if I was already on today's top list and I wanted to check out any of the other playlists that today's top hits potentially feeds into, that's the overlap that you're looking at here. So yeah, pretty cool feature here. Another aspect that we opened up as well are curators. And so I'm going to go check that out here. So same kind of thing. If I wanted to jump into, let's say, the Spotify curator, you get access to full information across the board. So same kind of thing, when are the tracks added by the day of the week, number of followers, that sort of thing. You can also look at the actual playlists that this individual, this curator is curating, and then also important social information. So really wanted to make this fully accessible for the individual artists so that they can kind of, position themselves strongly in the musical marketplace. And then the last feature I just wanted to go over is the team support. So let's say you wanted to build out a team off of your account. If you're an independent manager or you have some bandmates or something, same kind of thing. You just go up to the corner here. You can do account settings. And then you'll notice we added in the team feature. So if I just clicked on team, I could create a team, essentially fill out their information, go to the checkout, and then basically they would have access. If I was subscribed to, say, 2 artists, then each of my team members now would be able to pay for that 2 artist plan as well. So you can kind of build it out in an adjacent manner. So really useful to kind of get your people around you and really build a cool team to make an impact. So that's it. I will kick it back over to Jason.
Cool. Thank you, sir. If anyone has any questions for Timur, please feel free to put that in the chat. We're all very excited about Artist Plan here at Chartmetric. So looking forward to a lot of your feedback as we grow that and the rest of the application. Timur, thanks a lot. If you can stick around for a little bit in case anyone has so many questions for you, we'll bring you back on, all right?
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving right along, we have Rutger, a content marketing guru and one of our best music people and analysts here at Chartmetric. He is going to have a conversation with Sasha. Sasha Stoikov is a senior research associate at Cornell Financial Engineering, Manhattan, and also the founder of Peaky, a music tech company. He works on high-frequency trading algorithms and music recommendation algorithms. He recently wrote an article on March 3rd on the blog, which we can put the link in the chat if you haven't caught it yet. But without any further ado, I'm going to bring on Rutger. Rutger, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Jason.
Your guitars look very lovely today, as well as your plant. And I will also bring on Sasha. Hello, Sasha.
Hi there.
Cool. Welcome to the live stream.
Thank you.
All right, I'll go ahead and take myself off. You guys have a great chat. Rutger?
Thanks, Jason. Hello, everyone. We have Sasha Stoikov here, who, as Jason mentioned, wrote an article for our blog. I guess to start off, Sasha, maybe briefly introduce yourself, your background, and what inspired you to write How to Invest in Music, what the music industry can learn from finance.
Okay, sure. So I'm Sasha Stoikov. I'm a senior research associate at Cornell Financial Engineering here in Manhattan. And, my research has been in sort of 2 big areas. One is financial trading algorithms, like high-frequency trading algorithms. And the other is in music and specifically in music recommendation algorithms. And, for a long time, these 2 research topics in my mind have been very separate and different. And in the last few years, I've seen a few trends that sort of are bringing these 2 worlds together. So like specifically the 3 trends that caught my interest were the amount of buyers of catalogs at the sort of top of the food chain. So we've seen Neil Young, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen sell their catalogs. I thought that was very interesting because the buyers are not traditional buyers, they're financial institutions. So that's trend number one. The other one is that we've seen lots of exchanges pop up that allow artists to sell some of their music rights. And, companies like Royalty Exchange or A-Note Music that I thought were very interesting. And third, and not least, is the big craze of NFTs and decentralized finance. And really, they've, the ideas are all over the place, but at the core, we're talking about creating a financial asset around music. And I'm sure a lot of very interesting projects are going to emerge from that. So I saw these three trends. And then sort of another funny trend, I met Mike Warner on the Metaverse in some, music tectonics platform. So I met his avatar and we hung out, and he then introduced me to you guys. And so we then started, I guess it was in December, this project based on the idea, what if an artist was like a corporation and you could buy shares in them and invest in several artists? Exactly what would that look like, and how should you do that? So that was the inspiration, I guess, for this project.
Chris is bringing people together already. All right, so let's dive into the article a little bit. Let me pull up the article, and again, you can see it at blog.chartmetric.com. And I guess what I want to start with before we get into all of the charts is this section, diversifying your music portfolio. So I guess the backbone of the article. Can you briefly explain Harry Markowitz's portfolio theory of investment?
Sure. So this is it's an old theory. Now it's 70 years old and it has stood the test of time. But it's basically the insight that if you can estimate the expected return and variance and covariance of stocks, then you can basically this gives you a formula that tells you in what weights should you be owning these companies. So you can observe statistics on the top 500 stocks, the S&P 500, and based on this historical data, you might want to. The formula will tell you to pick a diversified portfolio. Now, the tough question in this is always, well, how do you determine these expected returns to put into that formula? And essentially, since this theory got the Nobel Prize sometime in the 90s, lots of researchers have looked specifically in how do I calculate or estimate the expected forward-looking return on these stocks, because as you know, if you've read any financial documents, past performance does not guarantee future performance. And so lots of people have looked at other, does momentum exist? Are there trends that help you predict the future returns? Or does the size of the stock of the company affect things, or the volatility, the price to earnings ratio? So, a lot of research in the last 30 years has gone into finding these factors that help you find your expected returns, which you would then put in this formula developed by Markowitz, and there you go. You have your portfolio, your weights in which your money should be diversified.
Cool. That's a great explanation. And so you effectively applied that theory to music data, and you use some of our data, so monthly listeners data for a little over 1 million artists on Spotify going back to 2019, and then you split that data into like a training set and then a testing set. And the idea was to focus on monthly listeners because it's likely related pretty strongly to revenue. And then you came up with some artist groupings. Let me scroll down to those. So the tier 1 artist for this research was essentially like top 500 artists. The next tier was the next 2.5 thousand, and so on and so forth. And can you explain how each of these groupings of artists compared to one another in terms of monthly listener growth?
Sure. So this, by the way, is probably the most robust finding that I saw in the data, because here you have four groupings that are a bit arbitrary, but no matter how you group things, you get the same pattern, and that's that the small artists grow faster in their streams than the big artists, and that is somewhat, at least surprised me at the beginning, because that's during the pandemic, we've seen the opposite in stocks. We've seen the big companies starting to grow faster than the small ones and essentially starting to really dominate. You could think that during a pandemic, everyone, reverts to the familiar celebrities, and, maybe the celebrities did better than the emerging artists. And in fact, in the last 3 years, there's this very steady outperformance from the smaller artists, and this is true no matter how you cut it. So I've cut it into deciles, or the top 100, the next 100, the next 100. No matter how you slice it, if you're in your peer group is sort of very important in deciding what your growth rate is going to be.
So there were two other groupings that you did. So top 500 versus like trending artists, and also top 500 versus stable artists. Can you explain these groupings and what findings you found here?
Yeah, so the trending was another, so the insight being, well, if an artist is trending, surely they're going to keep doing well. And in fact, this result seems to say the opposite, which is that very often, if you take the 100 artists that have done the best out of a group of 500, typically they'll underperform after, let's say you've measured 1 year of this and you've picked your 100 top. In the next few years, they will underperform. And so my explanation for this is that often artists that release albums or in a marketing cycle, they will tend to grow very fast. And then the minute you turn off the marketing campaign, there's a significant mean reversion, which we can measure. And so the other effect, so that's the trending, which essentially seems to indicate that trends can be illusions. The other is the volatility effect. So we found that if you take the 100 artists out of the 500 that have the lowest volatility in their monthly streams, they tend to outperform out of sample. So essentially, the intuition here is that these are evergreen artists that sort of don't have much marketing, but are just organically growing, potentially because the algorithm is recommending it to other people. And these are, possibly your Metallica and your Bob Dylan's, and essentially bands that are evergreen. So.
Cool. So I guess before we get into some final takeaways, please, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat. But I think the important question to ask about all of these findings is, first, what takeaways can prospective music investors glean from your research? And second, what takeaways might artists be able to glean from your research?
Okay, well, so from the point of view of a music investor or music buyer, the number or the thing that matters is you want to understand your multiplier at which you're buying, let's say, a catalog or the rights to an artist. So that the multiplier is basically you look at last year's revenue, you multiply it by a number, and that's that's the purchasing price for the rights. And so these findings, for example, the first one that says that smaller artists on average tend to outperform large artists, seems to indicate that you may have a better deal on artists that are small, but then of course you will want to diversify your portfolio. So betting everything on one small artist is probably a very dangerous investment. But if you do it across many artists, and that's what independent labels have done for ages. And so what are the lessons that they can draw? There's the size effect. There's also, beware of big spikes and trends, because they often mean revert, and past performance is not an indication of future performance. So beware of, big spikes that were maybe just a marketing campaign or something like that. And so stable numbers are going to look good, and your multipliers will get higher if your streams are stable. Now, from the perspective of so that's a music buyer. From the perspective of an artist who's more like the music seller, I would say artists need to be aware of their value, and they need to be aware of where they are and what growth rates they're expected to be in based on their peer group. If they have 10,000 monthly listeners, 1 million monthly listeners, or 10 million monthly listeners, it's a very different, the notion of doing well is different. And I guess I would advise them to make sure that their growth is stable, not like full of spikes that may be pushed by, maybe a marketing push or a playlist, adoption. And I guess that what I would encourage them to look at is what their retention rate is on these marketing campaigns. So, the retention is basically, of all the people who joined this month, how many are still around next month? And, I work on apps. And so I know very much that on Picky, if I have a retention of 20%, that's very good. And if last month it was 10%, I can see that it was there was an improvement somehow in my product. So I would say, retention at the end of the day is a good measure of how much do people really like your music and stick around for the long term. So, so of course, I'd like to put a little plug for picky.nyc. Artists can submit 2 of their songs there, and what we can do is we can value through a process of music critics, amateur music critics that rate your music, give you a sort of an assessment of the value of your music videos. So I guess know your value is the main message for artists.
Slow and steady growth is a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not slow. Fast is always good too, but as long as it's steady and consistent.
Right. I've when I looked at these trends, I was really looking at the very, very highest thresholds of growth. Maybe there's a sort of, and that's why I said this result was a bit less robust than the size effect, is that maybe the second tranche of growth is the best one, or that combine, we could combine many of these factors. And that I find that your data is really exciting for that reason, because it reminds me of like the historical data that stock exchanges and hedge funds purchases. It's sort of, you don't want to just know where an artist is at right now, but the history also really matters.
All right. So one final question that came in was, where do you see the intersection of finance and music going? Like, do you see a sort of democratization of, I guess, a sort of music stock exchange?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of insights about how markets work that will allow some entities, I don't know if they already exist, but to emerge to allow someone to buy and sell rights. Now, is that someone going to be a fan of music? I'm not sure, or whether it's going to be, right now we're seeing these pension funds. I think that's a good sign kind of coming into this market. But so yeah, I'd love to see a market for music in some shape or form. And the reason I think that it matters is because through people betting on, yes, this artist is big or this artist isn't worth it. More if the resources in music are going to be allocated more efficiently. And I think it's going to help the best artists emerge in a new generation, because they've been sort of, assessed by more people than just a few companies that, that have dominated this field in the past.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Sasha. And again, if you want to read Sasha's work, please go to blog.chartmetric.com and subscribe for more insights like this. But now I'll toss it back to Jason.
Thank you, gentlemen, and an extra thanks, Sasha, for taking time with us today.
Yeah, it's been great working with you guys.
Awesome. All right. So moving on, Michelle is one of our newest members on the team, although she's been here for a while. She's our business intelligence analyst, and she is going to talk a little bit about the app. For those of you who are maybe new to Chartmetric, need some help navigating, what are the things I can do? What are the possibilities within Chartmetric? She's here for you. So I'll go ahead and bring up Michelle here. Michelle, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks, Jason.
Awesome day in New York City today, isn't it?
It's actually really warm right now.
Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up a screen here. Michelle, what did you want to start off with today?
Yeah, I just wanted to start off. Thanks for being my mouse, or if it's tomorrow doing it. If you could just go to any artist page. So last time Mike went over kind of the main artist list and the filter on that page. And you can see there all the 7 million plus artists that we're tracking. But here it's just going into an artist specific profile. So we have a profile for all of those 7 million artists that we're tracking. And this is just where you can see more detailed information about each one of them. The page that we're looking at right now is like the overview, where you can just see the background as well as kind of the latest numbers. This page just surfaces everything so that you don't have to go digging for it, although obviously you can do that if you want to. And then that section that the mouse just went over, if you could click on like the Chartmetric artist rank, for example. Yeah, so these cards, some of them are clickable, and then you can see here that you can look back at the historical position of how your artist is doing compared to everyone else. But a new feature that we added recently is also those deciles. And here it says that Boslin is in the top 2% of artists. And so the reason we added this is because they are 13,135 in the ranking. But what exactly does that mean compared to the whole kind of system that we have going on? A lot of artists were asking that question, and so that's why we have added the decile, so that you can get a better idea of like kind of where you are amongst the ranking. Like, what does 15,000 mean, or what does 13,135 in this case mean exactly for you? Thank you for showing the pop-up. So yeah, this is just the overview section, and then of course you can go in deeper. There's the menu bar to the left where there are stats that you can look at. The page can get overwhelming, so you can always kind of configure it the way that you want to see things. There we go. And then you can select the number of charts as well as the platforms and the metrics exactly that you want to be looking at for your view. Everyone has a different screen, computer size as well. And then, whatever order you want, you can just apply, and the page will reload itself. I don't want to mess with Jason or Timur's view, so we won't do that. But then if you kind of continue going down the menu bar on the left, there's TikTok. The sounds, we just pick out, any tracks that the artist has as a sound on TikTok, whether it's a user using it or the artist themselves putting it up there. You can see that here. And then, of course, you can always click inside the rows for more information. Again, usually more historical information, as well as seeing where exactly, like what videos the sound is connected on. And probably won't click that because I think it'll start playing, but those post IDs are clickable as well. And then if you continue just going down, there's the audience section. Everyone wants to see where their audience is. So we have audience demographics for just a few platforms. So Spotify, YouTube as well. And then as they scroll, you'll see Instagram and likely TikTok as well. The reason for having different demographics, different platforms for the demographics is so that because each of these platforms has their own audience that's kind of native to it. So TikTok, might skew more female, but then insert for certain artists and like this one, their audience on TikTok would be more male. But on TikTok and Instagram, for example, like the social media side tends to be more female audience just generally on the app. And so that may also affect sometimes like the audience that the artist can gain on the app versus like, on YouTube where it's a bit more global. And then there could be just kind of a wider distribution of ages and genders that are represented and that are using the platform. So that's why we have those different sections and looking at it. And of course, people market differently on different platforms as well. And then the playlist, again, just moving down the menu bar on the left, the playlist, you can see the playlist that your artist has kind of accumulated on over time, all the tracks, all the playlists that they have tracks on. And then you can see that on these line graphs. So you probably get the picture by now that there are these line graphs. And then when you scroll down, the line graphs usually show like a historical view. And then when you go down to like the tables, you can usually zoom in there. Click on rows and things to look deeper into, which playlist the track is on and see how exactly the track is doing on a playlist over time as well. So that's essentially like the artist profiles. For some artists, there's extra information if you go down as well, like radio airplay. There's a TV section with placements like live appearances as well as sync. And then there's also, I think, charts and events as well, which we're also in the middle of improving our like live event data. So that's essentially like an artist profile. And then we have these profiles for tracks, for curators, for playlists that you can look across and just do a deeper dive into each of those sections. If we could go to the compare tab really quickly. Thank you. Yeah. So just another small update, just a tweak to the platform to make it if you want to go ahead and add some artists in the search bar, feel free to pick whoever you want. But so just a small update to this page. It used to be search and add up to 5 artists that you could do for the comparison. Now you can do it for 10. This was probably from a lot of requests that, this is an in-house feature. Obviously, if you're on the premium plan, you can export any of the data across the platform and then do an analysis yourself outside. But I particularly like this tool just because it's easier to do on the platform and it looks nice as well. You've probably seen Excel graphs that look different. So this is where you can do that. And now we've increased it up to 10 so that you can also just add more artists. And then also if you wanted to do like a date comparison. So if you go to the timeline, the dates, yeah, there we go. No, yeah, they are. And if you click dates by artist, actually, so if you just use it as it is, it would just change the dates for all the artists. But if you click dates by artist and then go to each of the artist names on the left, and there's an arrow to the left of their names, now you can actually select particular dates for each artist. For example, for Justin Bieber, you could select like February to March. BTS, you could do January to February, and then Adele, you could do December to January, right? And then the really neat thing about this is that the dates will line up themselves. So at the bottom of the graph, instead of seeing dates, you'll see days instead. So like day 1, day 2, day 3, because it'll have lined up for like Adele from December, BTS from January, and then Justin Bieber from February. And so now that's all aligned, and it's just easier to see like if they all, if you wanted to compare album releases and see how they were doing, obviously they're not going to release albums at the same time. So then you can line those up though, and then see like the improvement or not. You can see the impact there. So that's why I really like this section as well. And yeah, that's kind of, I can pass it back to Jason for a Q&A, or I can keep going.
No, that's good.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's all good, Michelle. Thank you so much for covering so much of that. Yeah, for those of you who have any extra questions about the app itself, feel free to go ahead and leave those questions in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Timur and Rucker back here, because now we are officially in a Q&A section. So we've got about 15 minutes to answer any questions you might have. And feel free if it's about anything, if it's for the app, if it's for Artist Plan, if it's for maybe one of the things that Sasha was talking about during his conversation with the Rucker, feel free to ask any and everything. We're going to try to go through top to bottom. Rucker might have to leave in a little bit. Rucker, no worries. You go ahead and take off when you need to take off. And Sasha's still here on deck as well, so feel free to pull those questions up. Let's start with this. Completely new to Chartmetric, admittedly not 100% sure on the benefits. That was from Doni Jep. Hey, Doni. I'll go and maybe try to answer that. I'll kick that off. So I guess it depends what your role is in the music industry. If you're an artist, if you're a manager, if you're representing a label, or if you're in the live music scene, or maybe you're a marketer, it's going to be different for different people. I think that's why Chartmetric is such a broad tool. It can serve many different functions. Let's just assume you're an artist. If you do have a role that you'd like to mention, Doni, please feel free to leave it in the chat right now. But I would say if you're an artist, a lot of artists use the tool to check out the playlist world. We have extensive historical information on playlists, and I think Michelle briefly touched on playlist history. No, Tomorrow was, I think, the one that touched on it. There's a lot of different ways for you to explore, what were the different artists or tracks that were on, so-and-so playlists on Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon Music a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 1 month ago. How many times have they shown up on that? Maybe there's an artist that you really identify with that's maybe a little bit further along down the line than you, and you want to see where they've been in the playlist world, so it could give you a target to shoot for. I think that's one use. Maybe you're a manager and you're trying to plot, you're trying to route a tour, for next summer because COVID's starting to fall away and people are going back out to shows. You can look at, some of the geographical information in Chartmetric. You can look at where you have the highest Spotify monthly listeners in your country. You can look at where other similar artists might have really strong, YouTube views from, or maybe Instagram followers locally to that city. And maybe you want to target some of those cities as well. So there's a couple different ways you can kind of use the data to kind of fit your purpose as an artist. And that's just a few examples. There's A&R, there's so many other, audience demographics kind of data that you can use in any kind of decision making that you have. All right, let's see what else. Timur, do you want to maybe try to answer Matt's here? It says, my artist channel says I'm in the USA, but I'm in the UK. Also, it says that one genre is neo-mellow, which is not correct. I believe Chartmetric is pulling in some data by a different artist. Could we help? Is there something that we could do there?
Yeah, Matt. Definitely. I mean, let us talk to some of our customer representatives to be able to get you set up on that. But I think, we can pull that on and get that to you afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a really good way to just highlight. We have really great customer support. It's one of the things we care about most in the company. Mike, who is down in Austin right now, Michelle right now on your screen, they're frequently the ones answering so many of the questions that you might have. Usually same business day. Trying to save their sanity as well, because sometimes a lot of questions come in. But if you ever have any questions, there should be a little intercom chat bubble in the bottom right of the screen. Or if you prefer email, there's always hi@chartmetric.com. Feel free to always reach out if you have any kind of small tech issue, all the way to something maybe more major. Please feel free to let us know via those methods, and we'll definitely try to take care of you.
I can add on to that. I already
please.
updated Matt, so I've updated your profile with your country and your genres already. So if there's ever anything else, like Jason said, just message us in the support chat. It's always floating around in the bottom right corner of your screen, or email us at our general email, or if you happen to be on here, you can just kind of let us know and we can do that for you.
Do you see how fast the customer support works here, everyone? Thanks, Michelle. All right, what else do we got here? Tyler, is there a way to change the email that the email report goes to? Michelle, you want to maybe take that one?
Yeah, sure. So I don't think we can change the email that the report goes to, because that's directly tied to your account, it should go back to you is the idea, because you're subscribed to the account. If you're setting the notification emails, which are in the account settings section, you can CC and BCC people on the same like notification report. So it will still go to your email because again, your email is the one attached to the account. But if there's people you want to add, I think you can add up to like 10 people total, like 5 on the CC and 5 on the BCC section. So you can add people, but you can't completely change who it's directed to. Tamor, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think that's the way it works right now.
No, that sounds right.
Cool. Thank you, Michelle. This next one, I think is for Sasha. Sasha, do you think I can bring you up here real quick? Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Sasha. I think this one's from Deborah. Deborah says, what do you think of Bitcoin for digital music sales?
Well, maybe not Bitcoin, but some other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or Polkadot, or there's the whole new generation of them that have things called smart contracts in them. I think that those are probably more likely to be. For me, it's very important that a digital asset is tied to something in the real world. So, for example, monthly listeners, or something that is measurable in, let's say, Spotify or Chartmetric data. So I think that Bitcoin, not necessarily, but some cryptocurrencies in the future, I think will be able to link. Well, for example, they could link to Chartmetric data, and sort of there could be a contract that says the buyer of that contract makes $100 if monthly listeners for Adele are above 20 million next month. So there could, I imagine that certain digital assets could pop out of these other blockchains, and essentially this idea of taking real world data and building an asset around it is it's related to smart contracts, which you might have heard of. So hopefully that answers the question.
Cool. We'll leave NFTs for another discussion.
Yeah, let's not overdo it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Sasha. All right, let's see what else. Matt, if I wanted to use Chartmetric to find all the people using my videos on TikTok, then comment on them all and arrange it by date posted, what would be the best way of doing this? Oof. Somebody want to take this one?
I can take a crack at it.
Oh,
did you want to, Michelle?
Working at it.
Sure. Actually, let me share my screen. That might be a little bit easier.
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right.
Go for it.
Okay, so Matt, I'm assuming this is you right here. So basically went to the TikTok section here, and you can look at the TikTok top influencers, and that basically these are the individuals who have posted using some of your music. And then it looks like you can click here, you can open the profile, open the actual video, you can see the top track also that they were utilizing. And I think for some of that heavy lifting on the data side, I usually like to export it in a CSV. And then if you have any, knowledge of Excel, then you can just basically kind of drill down into the information here. But basically any information with regards to TikTok is going to be under this TikTok section here. I think we briefly touched on that during Michelle's presentation. You can look at the tracks of the top posts as well across the board. And then, yeah, but I think this influencers section is going to be the most important too.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Moving right along. Hopefully, Matt, that answers your question. Luke Hins, can you let us know what features are in the works or coming down the pipeline? Tamora, I think this is right up your alley, good sir.
Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. There's a lot of them. So I will just throw out some of the cool ones. First of all is our proprietary genres. So I've been working on that for a while. That's pretty cool. Basically, what we do is we pull in. Previously, we pulled in the iTunes music genres, and that's how we kind of built it, and Spotify. Now what we've done is we built an algorithm to look at all the different genre mentions across platforms and pull out the most relevant ones. So that's really cool. We're making a lot of integrations into the application across the board. We're going to be building out a genre-specific page. So now you can look at aggregate trends across the board for these individual Chartmetric genres, and then drill down into the individual genres themselves to look at, basically what the trends are for music across the board. So that's a really exciting one. Another one is the track score. So we just built out the logic for that, and that went live on Monday, I believe. But that's really cool. That's similar to our Chartmetric artist score, where we take all the most important metrics associated with the track, and again, build an algorithm to incorporate that to give you sort of a point system for how a track is doing in the musical marketplace. And so we have a lot of cool integrations that are coming down the pipeline for that. And then finally is the artist career stage. So that's a really cool feature as well, which is basically where we utilize clustering to determine the career stage of an individual artist, from those who are just beginning their career to also those who are, at the top of the list. And so we're going to be making some cool additions to that to help you drill down and compare on an apples to apples comparison when you're starting to look at the data. So I could talk on and on, but I'll just leave it at those top three right there.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Matt, a couple more questions from Matt. Is Chartmetric adding reels and showing who uses our music? Michelle, Timur, do you want to take that?
Also a Timur question.
Okay, go Timur.
Yeah. Yes, we are adding reels. That is currently in the pipeline as well.
Sweet. Also from Matt, can you export on the artist plan? Michelle, do you want to take that?
Yeah, no, you can't. But that's because the artist plan, that's one of the main differences between the artist plan and the premium plan. And that's why the premium plan is priced so much higher, because to be able to download all of that data is definitely kind of major feature that a lot of people would want. But if you're talking about exporting the data because you wanted to look at all the videos on TikTok that are using your sound or your tracks that Timur mentioned earlier, you don't actually have to export that information. You can just use the table that's already there on the Chartmetric platform. And if you click the column headings, that will help you arrange it by the date posted. There is a first date posted column on the TikTok tables. And so you can use that and rearrange like the way that the table is sorted. So you don't have to export it to like Excel or CSV file and then rearrange it there. And Timur also showed you how to click out to the videos on the native TikTok platform. So it is a whole lot more clicks, but I guess that is where the extra kind of billing comes in on the premium side to reduce the number of clicks as needed. But it is all possible to do still just through the artist plan.
Cool, thanks, Michelle. From David Click Cox, are there any past Chartmetric workshops you can recommend that are focused on A&R discovery and how to use the site to find emerging artists by genre and territory? Ooh, so many options. Tomorrow, Michelle, you want to attack this one too?
Yeah, I can take this. We don't have any recorded specifically, but you can just email us at hi@chartmetric.com, and we can do a demo for you, because a lot of the demos that we do, sometimes they are, I think Mike mentioned this at the very start of the live stream as well, that sometimes he does private workshops because people have specific use cases for the platform. And so if you want to go over that with us, just email us and we can do one with you quickly to make it tailored for what you're looking at. Timur also does 15-minute product demos. I'm throwing it out there. So if you want one of those as well, you can find that on chartmetric.com. When you're in there, you get these like little message bubbles that tell you how you can get a demo with us. And sometimes Timur's calendar will appear there as well when he's free.
Awesome. All right. It's looked like we've hit time here. Dave, we see your question. We'll get back to you later offline. But just want to bring everybody up just for a final goodbye. Want to say thanks everyone for showing up. Our awesome detachment is still on the line. So thanks again, Sasha, for coming in today and sticking around for some questions. Please feel free to tune in every couple weeks when you want to check in with us. This is supposed to be a casual, just kind of hangout where we can just kind of interact and talk with you in a little bit less formal way. You can ask any questions you want and hear about the latest from Chartmetric. So hope you've enjoyed this. We'll post the recording later on. But for now, we bid you adieu and have a great rest of your week. And have a great time in Austin, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you all. This was awesome.
Okay. Take care, yeah.